I was a broken athlete. I was overeager and overtrained, fed my ego, got lots of injuries, which I think we've all been injured, physically, chemically, and emotionally. I've been humbled and meditated on that with humility for a very long time. And as I wanted to be the champ, but ended up with injuries, I ended up becoming an entrepreneur. I'm definitely not your chiropractor's chiropractor. I married chiropractic and physical therapy in a unique and proprietary way, and I've integrated my physical medicine practice with regenerative procedures. I'm a pragmatist, I'm a realist, and a naturalist, and I want the movers and shakers of the world to join the MoveMentality with me. I've got an understanding that movement and mentality, having a healthy mentality of movement is important, and in a world where we have an unhealthy baseline of healthy people and a sick care system to look to for health, driving that connection of mind-body perspective in one word, one understanding, so that we can all live a happier and healthier life is super, super important. In today's society, movement has become a luxury. From sitting all day at our desks to exercising on an irregular basis, we've become conditioned to live a less than healthy lifestyle. In this podcast, we're going to explore the age-old philosophy that movement is medicine, and we're going to discuss how we can apply our own MoveMentality to live a healthier, stronger, and more vibrant life. In this first episode, I'm looking forward to introducing myself and telling you all what you can expect to learn in future episodes. Join the MoveMentality and welcome. Hey, what's going on, Eric? How you doing?
Excited to be here with you today.
Awesome, man. I'm excited too. I've been looking forward to introducing this podcast to the world for a long time because it's just been a few years that I've been talking about this kind of thing. So thanks for being here.
Man, you've been talking about this for a few years?
Yeah, man.
And here I am thinking that I'm like the first person to hear about this and we're going to tell the world. So you've been on this movement for a while, huh?
Absolutely, man. I've been talking about this MoveMentality thing. I want everybody to join the MoveMentality, and just super stoked to introduce this first episode, introducing the MoveMentality to the world. And we're going to lay out some future topics and future episodes for all you listeners out there, all you movers and shakers of the world. So we're looking forward to teaching you guys all about things that we believe in, that I believe in, that we're going to really spread the love to the rest of the world. So I'm a movement guy. I'm a doctor of chiropractic, but everybody really knows me as like the movement chiropractor. So I don't just adjust people. I love to teach them a lot of movement. I don't like adjusting a cold spine is one of those things I like to say when patients come in the office. So we always move a little bit first, try to enhance their movementality, so to speak. But yeah, so movement's a big deal to me. I want to make sure that we get the love out there, because I think movement is it's a missing link in healthcare these days. So
I always like the fact that you say that movement is medicine. Where'd you come up with that?
I didn't come up with that, man. That's been around for thousands of years. You know, you got like Plato and Hippocrates and Socrates and all those philosophers of the world that said movement is medicine. I mean, down to the molecule or down to the quantum physics particle, right? Things are moving all the time. You could look at a concrete ground, concrete building, and there's molecules in there that are moving. Unfortunately, a lot of us humans have turned into, molecules that move as slowly as the ones in concrete. But, I think we do need to move a whole lot more. And, that's not me, man. That's like, this is stuff that we all should know a little bit more of, just like we all need to know that our spine is the house for our nervous system, right? So
let me ask you, if you don't mind, man. I just want to maybe, since this is going to be an introduction, like you said, right? Do you mind if we
Sure.
start at the beginning?
No, let's do it, man. Yeah, this is like episode 1, man. Let's get some love out there.
Yeah, because so
it.
you're a doctor of chiropractic, right? How did you get into that path? Because you're a DC native, right? You're an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you end up becoming a doctor, not a professional baseball player or something like that?
Yeah, well, yeah, I wish. So, but no, I actually fell into chiropractic actually by way of the University of Maryland. But let's go back a little bit. I like you said, I grew up in the DMV. I was born in D.C., raised in Maryland. I was a 3-sport athlete. Baseball was my first love. Played a lot of soccer too, and then started wrestling in middle school. And I was injured a lot. I was like a broken athlete, twisted my ankles all the time. I probably had, I think, my first concussion when I was 5. Had 5 documented concussions that I do know about. That's not including undocumented concussions. So, lots of injuries. At baseball, I ended up having to quit the baseball team my freshman year in high school for elbow injuries that I found out later in life when I was in grad school happened because of shoulder injuries, tears in the bicep ligament that protects the bicep from vibrating too much in the elbows. And then soccer, I was, on the varsity squad for soccer my senior year, but I just dropped from the team because I was ranked in the top few in my wrestling weight class. So wanted to focus on wrestling my senior year. And long story short there is that I was slated to probably challenge for the state title. And I was winning 6-2, I'll never forget, in the regional semifinals. Could have just laid back, and won that match 3 minutes later. Next thing you know, I'm going for another takedown, and I tore all the ligaments in my left ankle. So, ended up having to go to the state title on crutches and watch that state championship get won without me even battling for it. So it was unfortunate, See,
that would never happen to me, though.
Why is that?
Because I played baseball throughout high school on the varsity team, right? But I had a position that nobody wanted. I rode the bench like nobody else could. So no injuries there, man.
Bench warmer over here. No, you can't really get hurt unless somebody throws a helmet or a bat at you too hard. So that's the long story short. I mean, I had a lot of injuries, and I'll never forget laying there while my ankle swelled up, looking at the doc who was taking care of me at the moment, being like, you know what, like, I'm probably going to be like you, man, helping out, the kids out there or the athletes out there that really want to feel their best or move their best and be the best athlete they can be, instead of actually being the champ myself. So unfortunately, I had to live vicariously. And a couple of years later, actually, my brother went to the state championship in wrestling. He lost, really tight match. I think it was 3-1. But it was, it just kind of led me to a deeper understanding of how my body moves and how it feels. I'm a very kinesthetic guy. So as we know, we learn in 3 main ways. That's visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. And I'm just very kinesthetic. I learn mostly by moving and feeling. I think that happens to people who are injured a lot.
Definitely could be something. But I think what I hear and what you're saying, and I think that I really appreciate, is the fact that I got injured during baseball and stuff like that. Even sitting the bench, you still get injured in practice. Mm-hmm. I think what happens is when somebody has a heart for other people, and that's what I heard in what you said, is that here's the doctor helping you, and you say, you know what, not my ego saying, hey, I want to get better so I can get back on the field. Say, hey, how can I do this for other people, especially for kids who want to compete at a higher level? So I can appreciate that right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that.
So that led you to the University of Maryland?
Yeah, so actually was studying pre-med for a few years, and here's a little ironic situation. As a pre-med major, they didn't offer anatomy and physiology in that major. And for some odd reason, I was like, okay, what do I do? Am I going to have to take another course after college? I'm like, I'm paying all this money. I was like, I want to learn anatomy and physiology. So went to my counselor, and she told me about the kinesiology major. I was like, what does that word mean? Like, I had no idea what kinesiology even was my sophomore year in college. I ended up changing my major to something like a word that I didn't even know.
For those of us that don't know the word, what does it mean?
Yeah. Kinesiology is the study of human movement, right? So it's like you've got classes like exercise physiology, the history of sport, all kinds of things. Like the University of Maryland had some really interesting labs and things that we would take some courses in. And just also growing up, like here's the other side of the whole coin here. As a pre-med major, I was always on medications as a kid, had ear infection after ear infection. In fact, I still have tubes in my ears that got scarred over from when I was a teenager. I was on allergy shots every week for a decade. I was on all kinds of medications, and since I stopped taking a lot of medications, I don't take any medications now. It's just my life. Nobody's judging anybody out there that's listening. But the bottom line for me is actually that I've been a healthier person as a naturalist in a lot of ways. And so chiropractic just became one of those things that was actually interesting to me. I had no idea. I'd never been adjusted my whole life. Hardly really been to a physical therapist. I went one time to a physical therapist after that ankle injury, and then I bought a Bosu ball, and the next thing you know, my ankle healed up, and I was in really great shape. I mean, I was a young kid. I was 18 when the injury happened, or 17, and so the healing happened really fast for me. But again, I was unsure about going to medical school and studying medical drugs and surgery and things like that. I really was very interested in the naturalistic way to heal. And that's what led me. I looked into chiropractic and physical therapy. And the next thing you know, I was like, chiropractic's about the nervous system. That's a really interesting thing. And I think an underappreciated thing by the human race altogether. And so I just went to chiropractic college and I never looked back.
What's funny is, and I know you and I will definitely be talking about this in future episodes, but I went for a shoulder injury to a physical therapist. And I thought I was going to get like medicine and all kinds of stuff. And the guy says, no, here's a band and you start doing these exercises and it'll work. And I'm like, exercise? I want medicine. He goes, no, man, trust me. Do these exercises and you let me know. And hey, my shoulder pain went from 100% all the way down to God knows, where I can function. And It's been a miracle. So I can see where you're talking about. And medicine right now, like I said, we'll talk about this in future episodes, but we are a sick society. The whole idea is to keep us as sick as possible for as long as possible, right? So So let's go back to your journey. And all right, so you graduated from college. What did you do after that? Where did you go to work? Did you open your own clinic or?
So I graduated from college. I took a year off. I did a lot of backpacking and traveling. Learned a lot of things that hard way.
Nice. Where'd you go?
First, I was just backpacking through Europe, and just kind of hitting the Eurail. You could get like a Eurail pass for like 15 or 20 full days. Like you could go on one day. You could go on like 10 different trains as long as it was within 24 hours. You could get from one side of Europe to the other. So that was pretty awesome back then. That was, 2003. So I took the year off. I was a personal trainer.
How long did you do it for?
First time around was about 3 months. So I was so addicted to it, actually. When I was a junior in college, I actually got my personal training certification. Ended up traveling right after college. Came back, worked at a couple different gyms, bounced around, did a little bit of my own independent contracting with clients in gyms, some athletes that I knew. And then I was, again, like I said, so addicted to traveling that I got back on a plane and just bought another Eurail.
Your parents probably were, oh my God, he's wasting his college.
Yeah, no, not really. They knew I was going to go to grad school. My plan was always to go to some sort of grad school, and they knew it. I had to get them to trust me.
My parents would have disowned me.
I think I was 22 at the time when I started backpacking. Took that year off, gained a ton of experience. I mean, I do highly recommend anybody out there that's listening to do that. I mean, and not for nothing, but I traveled by myself, but you're never by yourself. I mean, you put a backpack on and you hop on a train and there's 15 other people out there with a backpack on the train by themselves or with some other people doing the same thing as you. Yeah. So, I mean, it was, it was never, you're never alone, right? You're really never alone out there in the world. Even if you are alone, I mean, this is like, we're right now in the middle of, a little over a year since this whole pandemic's been traveling around the world. So there's a lot of people out there that do feel really lonely right now. And just know that you're never alone. You could just hop on a podcast with some dude named Eric and just kind of talk and, build some friendships out there. I mean, you guys all know there's access to people. And so, we're here for you too. I'm happy to connect with anybody out there that's listening.
And that was pre-YouTube. So there's no YouTube.
It was.
There's no YouTube video of young Justin Klein, backpacking in Europe.
There's a couple of pictures. I'll tell you what, actually, I had bought, the old disposable cameras. Like, I had a backpack full of disposable cameras the first year because I was too afraid to travel with like my $400, Nikon. And then the next year I brought, the expensive digital camera and, had about 10 different little micro SD cards, right? And lost a few of them. I lost a couple of my favorite cameras, of course, like the ones with the best pictures, right? But got back and then went to grad school. That was, I guess I was 23 going on 24 when I started chiropractic college. And like I said before, never looked back. It was just an amazing experience. In fact, to keep on the travel train, I met a client's sister when I was a personal trainer. I was working at a Bally's up there in Connecticut. And one of my clients there, he introduced me to his sister who lived in Amsterdam with her family. And she had 5 kids and was having some issues, some postnatal issues, actually, after her 5th. And I helped her with her pelvic floor, and we worked a little bit on some things movement-wise in the gym. And she was like, man, Justin, man, you gotta come out to Amsterdam and stay with us and help me out for the summer. I'm like, ding, 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 okay. Like, I was on the first plane. Oh, yeah. So I was staying in a bunch of different places in Amsterdam because I bounced around a little bit, got my own place at first, and then had to move around to a couple of different places. But it was an amazing experience. I mean, I actually even took my finals a week or two early, I remember, my second semester in chiropractic school, so that I could leave. And then I came back like a week or two after the semester started. So it was I was feeding the addiction of travel a little bit much at the time, for sure.
I know, and you'd mentioned how small the world is, that you had a client in Amsterdam from the United States.
Yeah.
You got to travel to see them. I love it.
Yeah.
I've actually been to Amsterdam, and we also, when I was in the Army, we went to Rotterdam because that's where you ship out all the vehicles from the military.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Lots of ports
out
there in Holland. And I rode bikes everywhere, all over the country with some of the, very well-known cyclists out there, too. Got to know a lot of people. Got a lot of ideas as to, like, how to really build my clinic. So to kind of pull this full conversation full circle from the original question you asked, when I started in business after grad school, I moved back to the D.C. area. My grandmother's best friend was the front desk receptionist and biller for a chiropractic practice. I started working for her. Then I moved into the D.C. area and started my own practice part-time, working for another guy to somewhat fund that practice. And eventually, about a year later or so, I took the leap of faith and started my own business, Got Your Back Chiropractic, an integrated medicine clinic as Got Your Back Total Health. And we also have a nonprofit arm called the Got Your Back Foundation that we could talk a lot about later on.
I love the names of Got Your Back. I'm surprised nobody had that way before you,
Yeah, I think there was another guy on the West Coast with that name at the time, like some kind of name. I think his practice was called I've Got Your Back, though, or something like that. But I'll never forget it. I went to like a summer camp reunion, and my buddy Andrew, shout out Andrew, Dr. Andrew, who's a doctor in London right now. We're walking to our cars after a weekend of hanging out at the campsite with a bunch of adults that knew each other when we were like 10, 11, 12 years old. He puts his arm around me, and we're about to say goodbye, right? He goes, I got your back, man. You can use that. And I was like, dude, I will, and you're going to get the first T-shirt. So that was how that went.
That is very cool, man. I love it. I mean, you come up with some great names, man.
Well, like I said, I didn't come up with that one, so I loved it from the moment. But yeah, for sure.
You got some inspiration.
I love a good
friendly,
punny name.
Friendly
man.
Inspiration. So so you started your company, and by the way, I mean you've got a beautiful office, bro.
Thank you.
I love your setup. Love everything that you're doing there. So now let's go from you started. You're in the grind. You're building your business, you're growing, but inside you have this movement. And I'm not, no pun intended. I'm talking about like you have this core philosophy that I want to maybe talk about a little bit of the way you see the world. Mm-hmm. And you're saying, hey, this is wrong. We got to do it right. And that's where I guess Got Your Back Foundation came from.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the movement. Tell me about what drove you to say, hey, you know what? I got to go out there and help change this world.
Well, kind of going back to my roots of, the camp that I went to, it was a a Jewish sleepaway camp called Moshava. Shout out Moshniks out there and all you Habo heads. Basically, I love giving. I'm a service-based kind of guy. And so when I started in practice in D.C., I had made some connections, got some really great patients who were like directors of nonprofit organizations and just people who worked with really great giving organizations. And I would offer my services, and sometimes they couldn't pay for it. I probably gave away in the last 12, 13 years in practice, I've given away over $1 million worth of my services and care and products and things like that.
That's awesome.
Just because I love it. It's making a financial living was never really my drive. I'm interested in this stuff. I love it. I love talking about it. I love living what I'm talking about, practicing what I preach. And, I think that does shine through for me. And I think people definitely follow that. So, I've also been really lucky, in a lot of ways I've been blessed to fall into some really interesting places in my life and follow my heart. And I think that's one of the most important lessons that we all need to learn is to really follow our heart. Don't do things that other people are telling you what to do. I've been told thousands of times, do not start a nonprofit organization for healthcare. And I mean, I didn't listen.
It's tough.
So here I am.
No.
I didn't listen. Here I am. And
it's tough.
we're starting to, right? It's not easy. I mean, honestly, I don't necessarily disagree at this point right now, to understand how hard it is to raise money for healthcare. But, I'm out here now and I'm trying and I'm going to keep on going with it. And
so what's the major focus for the Got Your Back Foundation?
So the Got Your Back Foundation's mission is to level the playing field for healthcare. To act as a collaborative for proactive wellness in healthcare. So I think the large vision for the Got Your Back Foundation is to be a healthcare system, like true healthcare system, not a sick care system, but a healthcare system that actually supports. It's a big goal, right?
Yeah,
and I mean, I'm down, man. I think that we just need to all collectively get together and put together the right types of programs with the right types of people and the right types of doctors and trainers and coaches out there that all want to get people moving better again.
I'm of the belief that when you put it out there, the world, the universe responds to it, So,
yep.
So
well, if you don't, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right?
That's right.
So, yeah.
I had the lowest strikeout percentage in high school baseball.
It's because you didn't get up to bat.
That's right. That much.
Actually,
yeah.
So that would actually probably be a decent percentage compared to some people out there. But look, in baseball, man, like what do they say? Like, what does it take? Like, you got to hit a quarter of the balls coming at you. Get a hit, with a quarter, 25% to make it to the Hall of Fame, something like that. 25, 30%.
What is it? Bryce Harper got $300 and something million contract, right, and he missed 70%.
Yeah.
Of the shots that he took, he missed.
Yeah, come on now, right? So
with a 300, oh my God.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think I'm excited about that we're going to cover is not just medical things, because there's a lot of things that, medically that we can do, but you're also going to talk about the business of what is healthcare and educate people on opening their eyes and knowing what choices really are out there. And
absolutely. Yep.
We're going to be talking about healthy eating, sleeping, something I don't do a lot of, sleeping. I watch way too much TV,
Definitely.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of lifestyle change type things.
Yeah. You mentioned consistency before in our offline conversations. I think that's one of the things about movement is that since we don't necessarily buy into that it's medicine as just Joe Public, right? Mm-hmm. We get to where we want and then we stop and we're not consistent. Yeah. And that's not healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually, that kind of pulls me back to, your earlier question about movement and trying to go back into why this podcast exists to spread the love and the word of what we call our MoveMentality. consistency is the key. That's like one of my core values. Consistency is such a key to things. And to pull back to baseball, to talk a little bit about my idol, who's another guy who didn't hit really well. He wasn't the greatest, known as the greatest hitter in the world, but Cal Ripken. Cal Ripken Jr. is one of the guys who I have followed my whole entire life. He showed up every day.
Yeah.
He showed up every single day. And I'll tell you something funny too. I love this guy so much that I actually told my dad one time. I was like, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to name my first kid after Cal Ripken." Right? We come back from a ball game. He goes, "Justin, there's already a Calvin Klein." I was like, "Oh man." All right. Anyway, all right. It took you a second to catch on that one. So, but anyway, so consistency and showing up is definitely the key. But if you really, I'll actually speak to this, right? A recent injury that I got about a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years ago now. I tore my meniscus and medial collateral ligament climbing. I'm a climber now, so all those other sports that I used to play and do are by the wayside, and I'm a rock climber now. I do a lot of indoor climbing. When the pandemic hit and the indoor gyms were closed, I used this local crag outdoors right on the river called Carter Rock, and I used to go there. That was my new home gym. But last year in a bouldering gym, I was on the wall, tore the ligament up, and when I came home it was the week that I had changed the business entity from Got Your Back Chiropractic to an integrated medical practice, Got Your Back Total Health. And we literally had just placed our first order for regenerative medicine, stem cell therapies, and things like that. So we had them in the office in a cryo tank. And I called my nurse and I said, "Hey, guess what? I just tore up my knee. We're going to be using me as patient 0 or whatever you want to call me. I'm the guinea pig. All right, let's put this stuff in my knee." So I wore my brace every single day. I did my rehab every single day. I did it multiple times a day. And it was, that was 10 or 11 years into practice. And, 15, 18 years or so, I think it was, into just the health and wellness field, right? Having been a personal trainer beforehand. And it really hit me. It was like, you know what? Like, I am blessed. I have this big, beautiful floor in my office. I get to roll around and rock around and do my tummy time and my head nods and do my resets and move, do my physically therapeutic movement every single day. And I'm lucky. I'm like one of the lucky ones, right? I have to convince people that sit at a desk like you all day, every day, right? To get off your ass and to do something about it, because otherwise, like, you can't come into my office with a torn ligament and expect me to fix it. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you spoke a little bit to the magic that is physical therapy. Like, the magic is in you. It's in your human body, your amazing, nervous system and the way that your body actually heals itself. Like, guess what, people out there? Your body freaking heals itself. Holy shit. What a freaking concept, right?
That's an amazing
thing. I'm blessed, right? I think that we're all blessed to have that human body, those capabilities.
You just mentioned something that I am super excited about, because I'm a tech nerd, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a Star Trek guy. I'm a sci-fi guy. I'm all this guy. And I was a little depressed when back in the George W. Bush era, they didn't want to do anything with stem cell research, right?
Yeah.
Like that was some kind of science fiction stuff. Mm-hmm. But fast forward to today, this is, medical reality, science reality. And I'm just so excited to be able, in future episodes, to really go in depth about that.
Oh yeah,
because
we're
that
going to go
is
into
breakthrough medicine.
Lots of depth about that stuff. And there's a lot of misconceptions out there, and just things that people don't quite understand about it. And remember, guys, I'm a chiropractor, right? So I'm a big nerd about this stuff. I've been, that happened. Bush was in office when, and those laws came out when I was in undergrad, right? But I was doing a lot of reading on all that research back then. But as a chiropractor, I mean, I would venture to just want everybody to understand, ask your medical doctors about it, as well as myself. If you're curious, you have some questions, but I mean, I'm happy to point you in the right direction. But again, I mean, I don't know everything about it. I just do know a lot about it, and have also been in the trenches, in the practice, right, the clinical setting, to be able to see people actually really healing with this stuff. It doesn't work for everything, right? So we don't use it for everything, right? And there's certain reasons not to use it, really, to make sure that we're not. But the bottom line actually is that this type of research, stem cells have been used for over 100 years. The first stem cell patient or regenerative medicine patient was a burn victim, and the doctor took a placenta from the maternity ward, laid it on the burn victim's leg, and his skin grew back. And it was fascinating. It was amazing, right? It was just this thing. It was like, holy crap, that works a whole lot better than grafting the skin to the tissue, right? I mean, certain things, like, if you know this, like, I mean, certain things in medicine just kind of popped out and happened as, like, shockers, right? They're like, holy crap, the eureka moment, right? Like, I don't know how many of you out there know. Eric, do you know why chiropractic is a thing?
No, I actually don't.
A lot of people, when I bring up why chiropractic is a thing, they're like, I don't know, some kind of pain management, pain medicine. The first guy who got adjusted by a chiropractor, who was before chiropractic was a thing, so he wasn't a chiropractor. The first guy who got an adjustment was deaf, and his hearing came back. So it had nothing to do with pain. It had very little. Maybe there was something in the spine that Dr. D.D. Palmer palpated and found was out of place or something silly. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's just something that happened, and it was something that fascinated him. And chiropractic is not medicine. Doctors were tossed in jail for 100 years for practicing medicine without a license. But we put it out there and said, you know what, we're not practicing medicine. We're actually just putting the body in a healthier place and teaching it how to move a little bit better, right? Teaching people how to be consistent about their wellness and their lifestyle changes that they need to make to not have these structural or functional types of issues. Fast forward to 2021, and over the last 20 years, like you were saying, I mean, 20 years ago when Bush said, hey, you know what, stop all stem cell research. Well, the reason for that, just to kind of jump to one conclusion about it, the reason for that was that there was a lot of black market crazy stuff going on out there, and they were using fetal tissues, right? So there's a large contingent in this country, in the world, that doesn't appreciate using fetal tissue, which ironically or not, whatever you want to call it, fetal tissues tend to evidently have some of the best effects because they're actually more potent stem cells, right? But they can be used unethically. They can be cultivated unethically, and stem cells in the wrong hands can do things that we don't really want to even talk about right now, right? So I think that we do need to be careful about some of the things that, are reasons why the research was shut down or slowed down for a long time. But
yeah, and mind you, it's nothing political. I mean, it's not anything like that. It's just that I remember watching TV, and the first time I had heard about stem cell research was in that press conference that President Bush had at the time. So I instantly got on the computer and started, finding out what it is. And I'm like, no, wait, no. Because again, I'm a science fiction nerd. And back then that was basically science fiction,
Yeah.
Fast forward to today, this is
Absolutely.
reality. And doctors like yourself are using it responsibly. And like I said, I'm really excited to learn more about it and to help people understand it and growing my knowledge of something like that. So very excited. But real quick, I know we're about to end, but I just have a couple other things that I think people should know is that, again, we're going to be talking about the business. We're going to be talking about wellness as an essential part of your lifestyle, and you're going to help us understand how we can incorporate that in easy ways into our lifestyles. I think one of the things that excites me the most about this whole podcast is the fact that you're going to give us a very holistic view of total health.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think just my lucky or blessed experience in certain things in the total health and wellness field, I have some interesting things to say and some interesting perspective. I think it's all about perspective, right? So we can all really talk about our different perspectives on health and wellness and consistency, personal health, goal setting, all these types of things, nutrition, you name it, right? Like we could talk about different perception, right? But I'm in a good place to be able to explain at least my philosophy on things, and I think that it's going to come full circle for a lot of you out there. I think you're all going to really hear some things that might help you make some changes, and they might give us some new ideas for things, and they might become part of the brain trust that is the got your back total health MoveMentality perspective out there. Like, I'm looking to really get all the right minds together and collaborate with people to change healthcare. I mean, I don't think we're going to necessarily change the system the way it is right now, right? I really believe that the system wasn't created to be a sick care system, right? I think that people are inherently good. I think that we had thousands and thousands and thousands of people over decades and decades and decades that created the healthcare system that we have today. And right now we have an opportunity, while everybody right now is very aware of their health and wellness. They're all aware of the baseline that we have that really needs to be raised. We really all need to have a healthier baseline of health and wellness, and maybe be a little bit more naturalistic. Maybe not, maybe, who knows? But I really think that we're going to be able to get a lot of minds together here, a lot of educators out there that are spreading the love and collaborating together and being like a brain trust, like a big giant MoveMentality think tank. There you go. That's perfect. That's exactly the words that I was looking for.
I've always wanted to be part of a think tank.
There you go. Yeah, hell yeah, me too. I mean, and I think we always are, actually. If we're just communicating like that, you're always a part of one. But it's a matter of getting people to hear you, right, and actually listen. And that's really why we're here today, Eric, is to put this mindfulness perspective out there, this MoveMentality feel.
And I'm also excited because there's a lot of interviews coming. I mean, you've got some powerful people lined up who are going to come and share some information with us. I'm not a doctor at all. I'm not in the medical field. I'm in the world of podcasting, and I appreciate you bringing me on as your sidekick on this journey, because as a layman, these are the things that I look and I say, you know what? I'm interested because I want to live forever, but I don't want to live sick forever.
Right.
So
right on.
If I can, if I can live and I can find out tips, techniques, and just listen to experts, have a frank conversation about, my total health, I'm all ears, man. I'm all ears. So
absolutely.
I'm really excited about this.
You just said it, man. That's music to my ears, man. Like, you talk about how many people out there that you talk to are like, nah, I'm good after like 75, right? or whatever. Yeah, and I mean, think about it, right? Like, if you could live a healthy, happy life for a couple hundred years, like, tell me you don't think back to like, oh man, what was life like before cars? Right? Yeah. Like, stuff like that. Like, how cool would it be? Like, your great-grandpa, man, I had a great-grandfather that made it to 95. I would love to live a healthy and happy life for 100-plus years, and the human body is capable of 120, 130, maybe more. So, we need to be able to figure out how.
I play basketball in a senior league, right? I'm just pushing 50 now, right? And the average age in that league is about 65. So we have some 70-year-olds, and mid-70s, 75, something like that, playing. We have, I'm probably the youngest in the league. Mind you, there's no professional basketball players in this league. This is just regular folk playing basketball in the rec center. Tell me how the top 5 guys are 72, 73, 76, and 78, and I think one is 75. And I'm talking, they run me into the ground.
They are taking care of themselves. They're moving. They're taking care of themselves. And I mean, like I mentioned before, I'm a climber, and I want to be able to climb until my last days, man. Like, honestly, like I think that it's a sport that, for me, I love the movement, and it's all about, like having a really great full body movement. And, I think it's something that I will be fully capable of doing until my last days. So you know what, Eric? I'm super, super excited to be bringing the MoveMentality Podcast to everybody. If you out there are somebody who is suffering through pain, who has been around the block as far as medical health and wellness type of care, if you're one of those movers and shakers in the world, one of those educators, those coaches, those trainers, those doctors that want to hear all about the total health and wellness perspective, give us a shout, follow this podcast, share it, tell your friends, and go to our website. Check us out at the gybfoundation.org. That is the nonprofit Got Your Back Foundation's website. We have something for you here. We have a lot for you here, and I'm really excited to continue the venture and the journey here with you, Eric. And if you have questions, send me an email, gotyourbackdoc@gmail.com. And thanks again for being here. We'll be talking to you every few weeks. Take care, have a beautiful day, and we'll talk to you soon.